Alright, welcome to another Mageto Gaming video. Um, I really hope my internet connection holds out because it hasn't been good the last two nights, or it's the Neverwinter server, I can't tell. Um, but I wanted to give you an update as things have been changing on the bug fix forums for October. Now, we were told originally that Path of Blades and Smoke Bomb, things like that, would proc the weapon enchantments like lightning or you know plague fire, things like that. Well, I want you to see something here real quick. This is going to be kind of a little bit of an educational video as well as hopefully a wake-up call to Cryptic for the decisions that they're making. So with Path of Blades, right now you'll see some of them are not critting, which my crit's kind of high, so it's a little hard to tell. Now, if I go and hit stealth, they're all critting now. Now, the weird thing about Path of Blades, though, is although that is nice that, you know, if your crit chance is too low at a certain point and then you rev up and you can then crit, is that it doesn't pass on anything like any DOTs. So if you have let's say a companion or something that'll give you the ability that on attack you can also deal and set in motion bleed damage or poison damage, fire damage, something like that. Even stuns, it doesn't pass any of that on. So even if you take the scoundrel path and you make it so your attacks have a chance of dazing or stunning your enemies, Path of Blades won't do it. The way that it does its entity damage, or however they're wording it in the forums, the only thing that it's really affected by is your power increases and your crit chance, which, like I said, is nice. So like if I fire this off now, my companion hasn't even procced, yeah, I'm not going to crit on all my hits, but if I go stealth, then all my hits are then going to crit. Now, Smoke Bomb is a little different. Smoke Bomb, when you first cast it, if you don't deal crit damage on as you're casting it, if that attack is not going to crit, then all of your Smoke Bomb ticks will not crit. And there's no way of changing that in the mid of it doing its process. So you've got two encounters that almost seem to be opposites on how they work, but Smoke Bomb can pass on other things, like if you have Ariana that you have a chance to deal lightning damage or something like that, it will pass on those abilities, but it's not dynamic. It will not change as your power revs up or your crit chance increases. Now, one thing that both of these share, and this was said in the bug fixes to be changed, is that weapon enchants will proc off of those powers. Now, that was exciting for us, every hit of Path of Blades and every tick of Smoke Bomb, would have a chance of chaining. Lightning. We'll use lightning as an example, which would have been amazing. It could help us greatly, because when you compare us to, say, something like a great weapon fighter that uses mostly at-wills, all of the at-will attacks are going to proc the lightning enchantment, but not all of our encounter powers, which is what we mostly depend on other than Duelist Flurry, is not getting any benefit at all. Now, one of the things that upsets me, and I'm hoping that they or someone in the comments or something can shed some light on it, but here, I'm going to show you something. Let me get away from some enemies here. I'm going to just put on my lightning enchantment and show you how, when it doesn't work. And then I'm going to show you something really interesting. So, the lightning enchantment, and this is what it states. you deal an additional 63% of your weapon damage, not overall damage, as lightning damage with your powers. This damage chains 3 times off an enemy hit with a 100% chance on each chain. So you will do a chain, a 3-piece chain, 100% of the time, and this is at Transcendent. If there are no chain targets, you do 33% more lightning damage. Additionally, all cooldowns are reduced by 10% for the first lightning strike, plus an additional 1% for each chain. Now, I can understand their concern about multi-procking this enchantment. I mean, your cooldowns could be reduced to pretty much nothing. And this is more about on how they made these weapon enchants work after their last update to weapon enchants, which did not come about as it was stated, and still Vorpal remains champion. But here's a problem. This one has a 2-part ability, so to speak, one for mobs and one for single point. Now, if the multi-procking ability is not working, and I can only assume that they don't want that triggering off so many mobs at a given time, they feel that'll be overpowered, how is that going to affect the single part of it? The way they have it set up now is that if you drop a smoke bomb, just dropping it causes the chain event. So 3-piece chain, that's it. It will not continue to do anything further than that, only when you activate that power. The same with Path of Blades. Now, like I said, Path of Blades has each entity its own separate hit, which is affected by the growth of your power. And if you go in stealth and do 100% crit chance, they'll all crit. Now, once my stealth runs out, it's not going to do that. So how is the single point going to be affected then? Will my initial cast of Smoke Bomb only deal, what did it say? Will it only deal 33% more lightning damage on a single target when I've just cast it? Because that seems like a total waste. It makes it for single point attacks useless, as it is right now. So when they first said they'd change it, that's amazing. Now they're double backing and saying that they're going to make it so it only does it upon the activation of that ability. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Scourge Warlocks and Trickster Rogues have been needing a rework for a while, and they've admitted to this on the forum as well. So if the biggest problem is that our deficit is overall damage, especially single point, and they also argue that they want to have a balance in weapon and chance so it's not all one-sided to Vorpal, then making this change for it to multi-proc is going to fix those things, as well as some other things. So if you can make your other weapon enchantments, like Plague Fire, Greater Fire, Lightning, Bile Thorn, things like that, that do produce an after effect or a DOT, be able to multi-proc this, the amount of damage output is going to help eliminate that DPS deficit that, classes like the Scourge Warlock and Trickster Rogue are facing. They may not even need a rework after that. Just by fixing this alone, may be able to increase enough DPS and balance it enough among all classes to benefit from it, that they wouldn't have to worry about a rework. That's one less thing that they would have on their plate. Now, another side effect, if you make all of these enchantments more on par with each other instead of just Vorpal being best in slot for most classes, is that more people are going to want to create these items. Because right now, the trade houses, especially on Xbox and PC, are really old. I mean, we've created so many Transcendent Vorpals that have been passed down through different characters and traded and everything. There's no shortage on that. And there's not a big enough influx of new players to ever make the supply greater than the demand. Or make the demand greater than the supply, I apologize. So that would make more people need what? Coalescent wards. which means they'd spend more money in a Zen store that's already dead because there's nothing of value in there. They're going to be able to make more money. More people that, feel cheated by professions and masterwork professions that have no goods to create and sell will now be able to create all these different enchantments. And all of them doing that will need coalescent wards to do that. And there's only so many of those until they have to start buying them with AD, and then they also have to in turn be buying them with Zen, and therefore real money. Now here's the thing. According to their wording in this, they discussed it. They didn't even test it. They discussed it. So they don't even know how it's going to affect in-game. They're just like, oh man, I don't think it's going to work. Well, thinking it's not going to work and actually testing that theory is a completely different thing. So what I posted in the forums was like, just try it. Whether it's on the preview server or not, try it. If it doesn't work out, you've never been ashamed of going back on something and then readjusting it. But how are you going to know if it's going to work or not unless you actually test it? And if it does work, no rework needed for the Scourge Warlock, no rework needed for the Trickster Rogue, and I'm assuming this just based off of, a hypothetical, but you never know unless you try it. And then a chance of increasing money by selling more coalescent wards. And increasing, just the variety of playstyles that you can have with these different weapon enchantments. So, since they haven't made any crucial changes, hopefully, the words of me and everyone else in the forums will get this addressed correctly. Because here is one thing I wanted to show you. And this is another reason why multi-proc shouldn't be an issue. And I'm so glad that they did make a good change and allow you to privately queue solo. So we're going to do a skirmish. And then this way, if I back out, I'm not hurting anybody because it's just me in it. So the way that the entities work in the game are really weird. There's different types of entities. And you've probably noticed this, I'm sure everyone has at some point, is that there are certain things in the game, I guess, that may count as enemies. So like fire on the ground, or, frost on the ground in like MSVA or something. Here, I'll show you. If my lag will let me. Come on. Alright, so you can kind of see it. You see my lightning arcs are hitting that demonic terror. Now you can't destroy this demonic terror. It's not an actual enemy. It doesn't have a health bar. But when you're hitting it, and your chains have really nowhere else to go. I gotta kill a few enemies so you can see it. Oh, come on, just die. Oh, there, you saw a little bit there? So even though I don't have multiple enemies, well, I guess I do at this point. Alright, y'all need to die right now, because I'm trying to show something here. Why am I dazed? Oh. Come on. Ain't nobody got time for this. Alright. No talking. Time to concentrate. Gotta demonstrate. But you can see my lightning is hitting those tears. And it does that with any of these weapon enchants, like this, that are not normal, because Vorpal just does it on everything, and so does Fae. Fae will work on anything as well. Oh, this thing. But anyways, I'm getting out of here because you can see what I'm talking about. So, when you're in those types of battles, the single point goes out the window anyways. You can't get that ability because the tears and the frost and the fire are counting as enemies and therefore not allowing you to do that single point damage. So when you're in Svardborg and there's ice on the ground, your enchants like those you're not getting that 33% single point buff because you're chaining off of those icicles. So there's a lot of, so if you can multi-proc on that, yes, I'm still going to be hitting the Frost and the Demon Tears and stuff, but that's where your balance is. If you can't fix that because of how the game is coded, then you need to, like, how can I say this? I don't know. I sell cell phones, so Androids, for instance, have a lot of bullshit running inside of them and bloatware and stuff like that. So they need to have a lot of RAM and processing power more than the iPhone because they have to compensate for that. Well, the same here. You've got all these little entities in Frost that are dragging your enchantment's powers away from them. To compensate, you'd have to make them more powerful. Well, you can do that by making all the powers, especially encounters, proc them. Because yeah, I understand that it's still an issue that they're going to be hitting those entities, but at least you're trying to compensate in some way, shape, or form. Because I have notated this bug as well as other people in the forums, and it hasn't been addressed. So that tells me, one, they don't think it's an issue, or two, they think it's too big of an issue and won't bother addressing it, and who knows when they'll get to it. Which leads me on to the other topic. They mentioned, well, here, let's do some good news first. So right now, if you know, we have a feat called Shadowborn that when entering stealth increases the power rating of your next attack by 100%. Sounds good on paper, right? Well, it's triggering on DOTs. So if you have a little 400 hit off of a poison or something, it's going to take that and, only increase that little tick. So they have a fix for that. So the max, instead of being 100%, is going to be 25%. But it will work on your activation of the attack. Now, as we talked earlier, how is that going to affect Path of Blades and Smoke Bomb and the like? So, is it going to be like the weapon enchant? You activate the ability and the initial hit does it? So you're going to get... because a lot of classes like Hunter Rangers, Scourge Warlocks, Trickster Rogues, we have multi-hit abilities. Not necessarily a DOT, so to speak. Most of the time a DOT, I guess, would be classified as if it had an effect like a lingering poison or fire, being set ablaze or something like that. Not that it's multi-hitting. As far as I can tell, there's a difference between a damage over time effect and just damage over time in general. So, if I activate my Smoke Bomb when I'm doing Shadowborn, is it going to work like when I hit Stealth and go Smoke Bomb, where all of my hits are critical because that first hit was critical? Am I going to be dealing all of my Smoke Bomb at 25%? Because that's great for Smoke Bomb, How's that going to work with Path of Blades, though? Path of Blades functions differently. It calculates each individual stab of that blade. So does that mean that the first time that one of those 3 blades hits an enemy, I'm only going to get 100% on that? Because this is how I feel there's a difference between damage over time and the hits that these entities are doing. And if they don't even understand how to get the game mechanics itself to be balanced, I mean, how can they throw the idea of a multi-procking weapon enchantment out the window? One thing they're not wanting to try, one thing they thought about trying, but then decided not to, they double backed on it. So where does that leave us? So now we'll have Shadowborn, which is nice, although, as you can notice, 100% down to 25%, it's a little bit different. So when you didn't have DOTs, you were just running into that group and you hit Stealth and you hit Whirlwind Blades, boom, you get that initial hit. But then anything else after that, if you went Stealth, may or may not get on a big hit of damage. It might just be a little 400 hit or something like that. So that's nice. I'm glad that they're making changes. But some of the changes that they're making, they're not doing proper testing with it. They're not even looking at it. From a gamer's perspective, it seems like I don't know, it just seems like that. I don't want to say they're half-assing it because they're actually making changes. I appreciate them looking into things and making changes. But some of the stuff, it feels like they're not even giving it a chance. And some of the stuff we mentioned, of course, doesn't get any responses at all. So it's hard telling what they're actually doing. I don't know. I love this bug fix thing. It's amazing. I mean, some of the changes that are being done, they realize are quick changes that they didn't know about or they were reminded about and they're able to get them done. So I definitely appreciate, that they're putting in work. And I know there's a lot of aspects to the game, the coding and everything. I went to school for programming. I know that there's a lot of work involved. But just don't dismiss something without properly testing it, is all I'd have to say. And what is that old thing that Wayne Gretzky's saying? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Take a shot. If it doesn't work, go back to the way it was. Try it out on preview, something. But don't completely, because you could be missing out on a great opportunity to not only save yourself some time by not having to do reworks and balances, to compensate for, part of hardcore programming that can't be overridden, like the entities, the frost on the ground, the stuff like that. And the chance of actually making some more money in a dead Zen store, and fusing our trade houses and allowing us to have a new type of profession where, we actually invest more time and money into the game. Don't let that fall out of reach. Just give it a shot and try it. And so, like I said, I can't tell any of you to do anything, but I do ask, please, and I'm hoping some of you that are subscribed to me are the ones in the forums that I see that are new into there. But just make the statements, but please be tactful. I'm seeing a lot of people in there like really bad mouthing them, some swearing, things like that. You don't have to be cruel or outrageous to get a point across. They are reading what's being put in there. And to be honest, if they see their little word hamster pop up, which is, what automatically pops in when you do a swear word or anything, they're not going to look at it. They're not going to take the time. If you didn't take the time to be professional in what you're posting, they're not going to take the time to read it. So I definitely appreciate any of you that have contributed, and I definitely hope that we can get some of these changes, not only just for the Trickster Rogue, but for the game, for Scourge Warlocks, for any class that would benefit from it. I will be doing another update video as things progress and new changes are made, but they are making changes, some of them not great, but we'll see how things goes. But thanks for watching. Like, favorite, subscribe. Definitely share if you have the time or chance. And I will be putting out another video soon. Thanks for watching.